Hello everyone. Today we are having a great conversation with Simon Aron, founder of Cask Trade, a leading marketplace to buy and sell spirit casks, whiskey enthusiast and ambassador. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Not at all. I'm very pleased to be here.
Great. You founded Cask Trade in 2018. What was the biggest challenge for you while founding the company?
Biggest challenge was getting to grips with a very old-fashioned industry. And I was quite familiar with it because I was buying casks for many years, way before I started the company. But one of the reasons for starting the company was that the industry was very tough to break into. It was very disorganized, very paper-driven, very non-technical. And I thought I could do it better. I could make it clearer and a better journey for people wanting to buy a cask for whatever reason. And people buy casks for lots of reasons. So my biggest challenge was to try and design something that was 21st century.
All right. What? Because you built a marketplace, basically really living marketplace for customers. How do you believe technology is important nowadays in all the customer care and the customer treatment?
So unlike many products, each cask is different. So each cask has got a little bit of a different taste, different type of wood, different number of liters, and a different strength, ABV. And if you are buying and selling anything, you have something called SKUs. And SKUs are product codes, and you can have 100 of one and 50 of another and 10 of another. In the cask whiskey business, every single cask has its own SKU, its own unique code. So when you look at a stock list, it's a lot longer than a normal stock list at a supermarket. It's every single cask has its own SKU. So you have to have the ability over and above an Excel spreadsheet to not only manage and describe all the casks, but keep them up to date, know where they are, how many liters, when you last check them, what they originally started with, how big were they originally, how were they at the end before they were bottled. So you've got to have a really good handle on all the casks. We're currently managing not just stock, our customer stock. We're currently managing around 13,000 casks.
Wow.
So that's 13,000 line items. So you've got to have a good handle on that. You really, I wish it was as simple as having a little basic stock system and an online transaction, right click, basket, sell. But it's not like that.
Yeah, very true. Like in the casks business, it's like a cask is like a single piece of art, kind of. If we compare to other things, because it's not you cannot replicate. It's not repetitive.
No, I mean there are similar casks, and then there are casks that were filled on the same day into the same wood using the same distillate. And they should be identical, but they're completely different. I've seen it all.
For those years with spirits, because you're a businessman and also you have a passion in this. Was there something that surprised you? Was there something that you didn't expect through looking at the thing through the years?
I would say that the answer to that question lies in the product. So in the early days, when I started in this business, I could buy and sell casks very quickly. Then it became longer, and then it became even longer to see a return. And now if you're buying cask whiskey for whatever reason, you're either going to bottle it or you're going to keep it. And if you keep it, you've got to keep it for a while until it's ready to drink. And I think the biggest difference that I saw in the industry was the variety of casks, the variety of distilleries, and the variety of tastes. It's pretty endless. I love a good challenge. When someone says to me, I like Johnny Walker, I'm like, okay, well, try this and try that. And I normally get people to find I normally find something that they really like. But I think the greatest surprise was the amount of profit that's in the industry and the amount of whiskey lovers that are in the industry that enjoy different types.
Mhm. Yes, yes, yes. For me, for me, uh, for me, I would say the biggest surprise that because I was expecting obviously ups and downs in the market. It happens everywhere. But for me, it was a surprise and a kind of a positive thing is the number of people who are really actively involved in the business, like independent bottlers, sometimes private people, a lot of labels, a lot of new ideas. And that was something that is similar actually to music, because technology and also internet really makes your life easier. If you want to be independent artist or independent bottler, you have a variety of choices. You have really now plenty of opportunities, and that is something that for me, like looking at the business, is kind of new, which is very interesting because there are a lot of people all around the world, and they have really great ideas, fresh ideas, and different ideas from the corporate ones. This is something that
I would say it's also geography. So the world is getting much smaller. And the reason that whiskey has expanded so much is because the world is smaller and people are drinking more whiskey. And I have customers in places like New Zealand that buy casks and bottle whiskey. I've got customers in Vietnam now. I have customers in Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. One of my biggest markets, Taiwan. Japan's always been big with whiskey. And China. And China has huge numbers of whiskey enthusiasts now. If I was concentrated on my traditional markets, maybe Poland, maybe France, maybe Belgium, Germany, I would struggle because a lot of those markets, although they're very mature, they're a bit quiet. They're a bit quiet. I call that the old market, not so much the new market. And of course, we're all waiting for other markets to open, like South America and India.
And do you see a change in customer behavior?
Yes, I mean, we just talked about we use an expression in the UK called disposable income. And that's how much you've got at the end of every month over and above the fuel bills, the rent bills, the food bills. And that has all gone up, especially in Europe. And people have not got not a lot left over. So a lot of people used to spend quite a nice amount of money in euros on a bottle of whiskey, and that amount of money has gone down. So they buy less and they buy cheaper. So that made a big difference in the whiskey market. Also, there was this unusual situation with COVID, where there was a lot of repressed demand, and people were drinking at home. People were bored. People weren't going out to eat, so they were ordering wine and whiskey at home. There was a big demand when we came out of COVID, and that gave a very big false hope to people to produce more. And now we have a lot of whiskey in the market.
According to you, looking forward, what would be the future of spirits?
Well, the future of spirits would be geographic. So different markets, different types of people. I did an exhibition in Beijing 10 days ago, big whiskey exhibition. And I got to be honest, it was busier than any other exhibition I've done anywhere else in the world. Thousands and thousands of people that are just generally interested. And I'm not exaggerating, maybe 5,000 people went past our stand on the Saturday. It was unreal. And they all want to know, and they want to know about whiskey. They want to taste and enjoy it. It's a different experience. And they're all interested in it. So the numbers are big. So I would say that the biggest prospects to our industry are the new and emerging markets. Definitely.
I would say so. Yes, I would say so. For me, a lot of territories that are still out of the radar, and they can be really explored. They can be really explored. I would like to ask you on the business side or founder side or entrepreneurial side of your journey. What was for you more important when you were founding up the companies? Equity that you need to start, or people that you would like to cooperate with?
The most important thing is your business idea to begin with. Actually, equity or finance leads to good people. Good people leads to better equity, better share price, and the ability to get more money. So if anyone told you there was one single thing that made you a good entrepreneur and a successful entrepreneur, they would be lying, because there is no such thing. Money doesn't make happiness generally. It helps. So there are many things. The amount of talent that you can hire is very much dependent on your budget and how much you've raised and what money you have available to invest in people. People are very important, and people are also the biggest problem. So if you have software, and I've done IT, I've done agriculture, I've done medtech, fintech, all sorts of businesses. I've been working for myself since just before my 23rd birthday. So I've had good days, bad days. I've had companies go bust. I've shut down businesses, but I've also had successful exits across multiple industries. I've always been interested in whiskey. That made it very much easier. And there's a principle there. If you can work in a business that's your hobby, it's very enjoyable and easier, because you generally get up in the morning and you're interested. You're doing what you love. But to answer your question, multiple things. It's not one thing or another. I've always managed to raise money. It's more difficult to find good people to work for you. Much more difficult. If you start a software company, it's a bit easier. You kind of start it with a outlook of where you want to go with it. But a business like this, it's important to have deeper pockets. So you buy stock. I've never really done any brokering. I've always bought the stock. I have no outside funding. It's just me. There's no. I don't have any bank loan or any debt or any other investors. And I buy what I sell. So I don't. If I don't own it, I don't sell it. It makes it a lot easier as well. We have around 4.5 million in stock.
Okay. Yeah. I was touching a little bit what you said in I've just said. Are there any ventures or projects apart from spirits that you are busy with currently, like from other branches?
I invested 14 years ago in a agricultural business growing blueberries. We've opened blueberry farms all over the world. We're now the second biggest in the world. It took 14 years. Another business that I invested in was a medical technology business for orthopedic surgery. Again, that's also got FDA approval for many of the products. So generally, I look at opportunities. I like to be involved in the business as well, certainly in the early days, maybe not in the later days. But and I like to immerse myself in that business, learn about it, meet people inside that business. When I went into agriculture, I knew nothing about it. So I spent the best part of 3 years visiting all of the sites that we were developing and going to agricultural conferences, fresh produce conferences, meeting supermarkets, and just understanding where the business could go. I like doing that. In the IT world, which was my previous world, I learned about operating systems and solid state storage. I always knew about whiskey though, because that was always the hobby. So, it's a journey. Getting involved in any business is a journey.
I see positives only because some of the skills you can really incorporate as a fresh look from other businesses. On the founding side or equity side, I was listening carefully to what you have said, and my experience is the biggest challenge is to really build a business with the people who are really interested in this one. Not only equity givers, just really people who are connected to what the company is doing. Then it's much easier to understand mutual opportunities and obligations and all the risks. That is something that I see important, because in many projects I see that there's totally like there's no connection between founders and people who are really bringing equity into this. They don't speak the same language. Sometimes you just need to look at the horizon from a different angle. And in whiskey is especially important, because sometimes the things are happening really quick. Sometimes you just need to wait or invest a little bit in the market or in the client base. Having said that,
it's a longer business plan.
Yeah, exactly. You founded different businesses. Is there any like unique or maybe unique piece of advice that you would give to all the young people who are thinking about opening their own businesses, starting their own projects, but are still hesitating? What would you be a piece of advice from you to them?
Research as much as you can, but it will never be perfect. So you have to stop at some point. I know people that are thinking about it and researching businesses, and they research so much, actually that boat sails and they miss the opportunity. Or they never get out of their bedroom and they never do it because they're overthinking. You have to, there's never a right time to start a business. Never. And there is, you have to take the risk at some point. And those people, there's a lot of people that just don't take the jump. So you need to take the jump, do your research, make sure you're thorough in your research. So if you're going to start a business, really know the landscape of that business, know every single competitor, know every single market disruptor in that business, really get to know the market. That doesn't mean that you don't do it because you're too scared, but really get to know. And secondly, there is, every time I've heard a founder say to me, this is unique in the world, I laugh, because there is very little that's unique in the world. It doesn't have to be unique in your business. You just have to do it well and you can win money. Why would we need another restaurant or another clothes manufacturer? Of course, the world needs more. But so you need to take that leap. You also need to know the basics. And this is something that I worry about with younger founders. And by the way, I'm a mentor and a judge. I'm a judge for Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, where I judge about 1,000 applicants. It gets down to about 100 and then 20. And I'm very much interested in meeting young entrepreneurs and getting to know what they're doing. But it can be very hard feedback sometimes. And you do need to know how to run a profit and loss account, read a balance sheet, understand people, know how to run a marketing model, online, offline, theoretical strategies, organizational charts. You don't need to know all these, but you need to know the basics. And if I meet an entrepreneur that has studied and understands the basics, this is a good base. It's a good start. But there's a lot that don't.
Do you see something different than in young generation or young entrepreneurs comparison to yourself, like a different approach, different attitudes, different ideas?
Without getting into trouble, I see a different work ethic. I see a different work ethic. I'm going to be 60 next year. I don't mind traveling around the world and working very hard. But I'd also know 25-year-olds that are already tired. They don't really want to go to an appointment. They'd rather have a Zoom call. But they don't want to go for dinner with someone to see if they can get a business relationship. They just, let's do a call. Right. So work ethic is a really important one. I learned that from my family, my grandfather and my father. And I'm not scared of hard work. I'm not saying young people don't work hard, but they need a good hard work ethic.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with this. On the future look and opportunities, on the opportunities, this is always interesting for me to have a look. Is there something from opportunity that you didn't take looking backwards? Are there chances that you missed?
Sure. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I got offered buildings that were a bargain that I should have bought. I got offered to work with Microsoft in the early days, and I only really started to work with them maybe 5 years after I was first asked. And I wish I worked with them 5 years before. There's always missed opportunities. You have to make best of what you have. You have to be creative and maybe take a step sideways if you've missed the opportunity. Yeah, sure. No regrets, though. You have to have you can have regrets at the time of a disaster. You can have regrets and you can feel remorse and sadness and frustration and anger. You can feel all of that. But you've got to move forward eventually after that. If you don't, then it will consume you.
Very true. Very true. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. You talked about mentorship. So you are a mentor for a young generation. Which is great. But looking at you, did you have a mentor, or do you have a mentor still?
So at the age of 23, I started a company doing spare parts for PCs and servers. And within about a year, I became one of the biggest spare part providers in the world. And I went from 4 people, including my father, who was retired in an office, to 33 people. And I went from 33 to about 70. Eventually, the business had a couple of hundred. This was one of my businesses. And I didn't have the personal skills to deal with multiple staff. I was young. I was very excitable. Sometimes I didn't talk to people in the right tone. Sometimes I didn't pick my battles. Some of it was public, and it shouldn't have been. So all these things were a major problem. So I hired 2 ladies, one Russian lady and one English lady, that had both been board directors of BP, British Petroleum. And they were executive coaches. And this is a long time ago. Yeah. This would have been 1994. And these 2 ladies would come in once a week and they would coach me. They would coach me on management skills, etiquette, organizational structure. And they really helped me. And I worked with them for a couple of years. I think they're probably retired now. But yeah, really helped me. I also had I had the advantage of also taking a lot of advice from my father, who's still alive. He's 90 years old, and I celebrated his birthday in London 2 weeks ago, which is great. So, I got a lot, and I'm grateful for it. If I can pass it back to someone, I will. You can't do it on a large scale, and I'm not about to take a sabbatical and go and teach business at Harvard or anything like that. So I help where I can. I've got a lot of young entrepreneurs that come and ask me lots of different questions. Some of them come more often than once or twice. They come regularly. They update me on their business. They ask for it. I enjoy that. It's almost like problem solving and a challenge.
Yes, exactly. At the end, or as a kind of summary of what you have said. You travel a lot. You meet a lot of people. You're really hyperactive also in coaching. How do you energize yourself? Is there something that keeps you really motivated and gives you the energy? Share with us. Huh?
I have high energy levels, but I also have a very selfish side. And my selfish side is that I do stuff that I like. And that energizes me. So if I sit in a marketing meeting and we're discussing creative theories about different distilleries or different whiskies, or I sit in a meeting about attacking different markets, who to meet, what to do, where to go, or someone challenges me on financing of a business and how they would do it, these things interest me. If someone sits and talks to me about financial modeling or projections or budgets or banking or insurance, I have no energy. In fact, I can fall asleep. And I have fallen asleep in meetings, much to my my host's kind of shock. So there are things that completely de-energize me. And I know what works and what doesn't. And if you can find people to do that stuff, fantastic. And you get on with the good stuff that you're good at. So you pick your battles and you get your energy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Simon, for all those all those advices. I really appreciate your point of view on the things. It's
a pleasure. I always like talking to a fellow whiskey enthusiast as well, because I know you like whiskey as well, which is fantastic.
I do.
That's another language altogether as well.
I do. It's for me a much more than a line of business. A lot of great memories, people, and that's something much more than simply business. Thank you a lot for this conversation. I keep fingers crossed for Cask Trade and all your business and life projects.
Thank you.
And hopefully we see you person shortly with a drama.
Of course. I hope to see you soon. You're always welcome in the office. And we have our own warehouse and our own tasting room in Scotland now as well.
I do know. Yes, I follow. Yeah. That's a great idea. Have a great rest of the day, and we would be keeping in touch. Thank you very much. Ciao.
Bye, Lucas. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.